Think you know everything about blaxploitation cinema? The Black Godfather hides bizarre casting coincidences, career-launching debuts, and production mistakes that rival modern parodies. From legendary blues singers turned actors to films packaged in completely wrong DVD collections, this 1974 crime drama proves truth is stranger than fiction. Fact 1. Blues legend's film debut. When The Black Godfather hit theaters in 1974, audiences witnessed something unusual. One of America's most celebrated blues singers stepping into a dramatic acting role. Jimmy Witherspoon, known professionally as Spoon in the music world, took on the character of Nate Williams, the aging crime boss who mentors the film's protagonist. This marked a significant career shift for a man whose voice had dominated blues and jazz stages for decades. Witherspoon had first made his mark in the music industry back in 1949 with his recording of Ain't Nobody's Business, which became his signature song and stayed on the rhythm and blues charts for 34 weeks. By the time he appeared in this film, Witherspoon had already established himself as one of the great blues shouters in the Kansas City tradition, performing alongside legends like Count Basie and appearing at prestigious venues, including the Monterey Jazz Festival. His transition to acting wasn't entirely unprecedented, as many musicians of that era explored film work, but Witherspoon brought genuine dramatic weight to his performance as the philosophical older gangster passing the torch to a new generation. The role required him to deliver lengthy dialogue scenes filled with street wisdom and moral complexity, quite different from belting out blues numbers on stage. Critics noted that Witherspoon held his own alongside the professional actors in the cast, displaying natural screen presence and timing. This film appearance opened doors for Witherspoon in Hollywood, and he would go on to act in several other movies throughout the 1970s and beyond, including roles in To Sleep with Anger and Georgia, proving that his talents extended far beyond the music that made him famous. Fact 2. Tony Burton's character name confusion. The Black Godfather contains one of cinema's most peculiar casting coincidences that created confusion both on set and for audiences trying to follow the plot. Actor Tony Burton, making his film debut, played a character named Sonny who serves as a henchman in the criminal organization. Meanwhile, Don Chastain portrayed the film's main antagonist, a white mobster whose character name was Tony Burton. This meant that throughout the movie, characters would refer to the villain Tony Burton, while the actual actor Tony Burton appeared in separate scenes as a completely different person named Sonny. The overlap became especially confusing during dialogue exchanges where criminal associates discussed their conflicts with Tony Burton, the drug dealer, while viewers had just seen Tony Burton, the actor playing Sonny, in previous scenes. This wasn't an intentional artistic choice or meta-commentary on identity. It appears to have been pure coincidence that nobody on the production noticed or bothered to change during filming. The situation grows even more bizarre when you consider the cast credits, where both names appear, Tony Burton as Sonny and Don Chastain as Tony Burton. Film historians have noted that this kind of character-actor name overlap is extremely rare in professional filmmaking, as script supervisors typically catch such potential confusion during pre-production. For decades afterward, discussions about the movie's cast have required careful clarification about which Tony Burton is being referenced at any given moment. Some viewers initially assumed that Tony Burton was playing dual roles or that there was some twist involving identity switches. But the truth is far simpler and stranger. The filmmakers simply didn't see a problem with having an actor and a character share the same name in a single movie. Fact 3. Rocky franchise origins. The Black Godfather holds a special place in film history as the launching pad for one of cinema's most recognizable supporting actors. Tony Burton's first appearance on any movie screen came through this low-budget blaxploitation film, where he played the minor role of Sonny. Just 2 years later, Burton would land the part that defined his career. Duke, the wise and steady trainer who guided Apollo Creed and later Rocky Balboa through 6 Rocky films spanning 3 decades. That journey from a henchman in a forgotten exploitation movie to a cornerstone of one of Hollywood's most beloved franchises is remarkable. Burton brought authenticity to the Duke character partly because of his real-life background as a professional boxer who had won Golden Gloves championships in the mid-1950s. His brief time in The Black Godfather gave him essential screen experience and helped him understand how to project authority and presence on camera, skills that served him well when standing beside Sylvester Stallone and Carl Weathers in the Rocky series. Burton became one of only 4 actors to appear in all 6 of the original Rocky films, alongside Stallone, Burt Young, and Talia Shire. His portrayal of Duke evolved from a supporting trainer role into a father figure and moral compass for Rocky, delivering some of the franchise's most memorable motivational speeches. Looking back at Burton's humble beginnings in The Black Godfather, it's fascinating to see the raw talent that would eventually make him indispensable to one of sports cinema's greatest sagas. Burton continued working steadily in television and film until his death in 2016 at age 78, but he remained forever grateful for that first break in 1974 that started it all. Fact 4. The Stanley Kubrick Chess Connection. Tony Burton's acting career took him from the streets of blaxploitation cinema to one of the most meticulously crafted horror films ever made. 6 years after his debut in The Black Godfather, Burton appeared in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, playing Larry Durkin, the owner of the garage where the Torrance family stores their car before heading to the Overlook Hotel. Though Burton's role was small, consisting of just one brief scene, the experience of working with the legendary perfectionist director left a lasting impression. According to multiple accounts, during the extensive shooting schedule that Kubrick was famous for, Burton and the director played chess between takes on the Colorado soundstage. Kubrick was known to be an avid chess player who often used the game to bond with cast and crew members during the long, methodical filming process that characterized his productions. The garage scene itself required multiple takes, as Kubrick demanded from all his actors, giving Burton plenty of downtime to engage with the director. This connection between 2 very different films demonstrates the unpredictable paths actors take through Hollywood's landscape. Burton went from a gritty, low-budget crime drama shot quickly in Los Angeles to a massive studio production where Kubrick might shoot a single scene dozens of times to achieve his vision. The contrast couldn't be sharper. The Black Godfather was made fast and cheap to capitalize on exploitation trends, while The Shining represented filmmaking as meticulous art, with Kubrick controlling every frame. Burton navigated both worlds successfully, bringing professionalism and presence, whether the director needed 1 take or 50, whether playing a gangster's muscle or a helpful garage owner. Fact 5. Former track star leads film, Rod Perry brought an unusual athletic pedigree to his starring role as JJ in The Black Godfather. Before becoming an actor, Perry had established himself as a track and field champion at Penn State University, where he broke school records in the high hurdles and briefly held a world record. His accomplishments were so significant that the university bronzed one of his track shoes and displayed it in their trophy case as a permanent tribute. Perry attended Penn State from 1952 to 1956 on a track scholarship, and he also served as captain of the basketball team, showcasing his versatility as an athlete. In 1953, he set a national record in the 180-yard low hurdles with a time of 18.8 seconds. After college, Perry served in the United States Army from 1958 to 1960, before eventually transitioning into modeling and theater work in New York City, where he performed in Broadway productions. This athletic background translated well to action-oriented roles, giving Perry natural physicality and commanding screen presence that served him perfectly in blaxploitation films. The Black Godfather was indeed his first leading role in a major motion picture, though he had appeared in smaller parts previously, including the 1970 Indian-Philippine film The Evil Within and the television movie The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. Perry's performance as the morally complex crime boss caught the attention of casting directors, leading directly to his most famous role as Sergeant David Deacon K in the television series SWAT, which premiered just 1 year after The Black Godfather's release. His journey from track star to leading man demonstrates how athletic discipline and stage presence can create successful transitions into completely different careers. Fact 6. Instant Godfather promotion. One of the most jarring aspects of the Black Godfather storytelling is how quickly its protagonist rises to power. The film opens with JJ as a small-time thief, attempting a robbery that goes wrong, leaving him wounded and his partner dead. Within roughly 10 minutes of screen time after the opening credits roll, JJ has already become the titular Black Godfather, controlling significant criminal operations in the neighborhood. This rushed ascension skips over what most crime films consider essential: the gradual accumulation of power, reputation, and respect that transforms a street criminal into a crime boss. Audiences never witness JJ pulling off successful heists, building a crew, eliminating rivals, or demonstrating the strategic thinking that would justify his rapid promotion. Instead, the aging crime boss Nate Williams simply declares JJ his successor, provides him with money and resources, and the transformation is complete. By the time the main plot begins, JJ is already making major decisions about territorial control and drug policy, commanding the loyalty of hardened criminals, and engaging in high-level negotiations with white mobsters. This narrative shortcut means the film focuses entirely on JJ as an established power, rather than exploring the journey that got him there. Critics have noted this unusual structure, pointing out that films like The Godfather or Scarface spend considerable time showing their protagonists rise, making their eventual power feel earned and their falls more tragic. The Black Godfather simply wasn't interested in that story, preferring to jump straight into the conflicts and moral dilemmas facing an established criminal leader trying to keep drugs out of his community while profiting from other vices. Fact 7. Martial arts DVD misplacement. The Black Godfather's distribution history includes one of the more absurd packaging mistakes in home video collections. Despite containing absolutely no martial arts content whatsoever, the film appeared in multiple 50-movie martial arts DVD box sets released by budget distributor Mill Creek Entertainment, including collections with titles like Martial Arts Classics and sets prominently featuring Bruce Lee on the cover, despite containing no actual Bruce Lee films. Confused buyers who purchased these collections expecting wall-to-wall kung fu action would encounter The Black Godfather, sandwiched between genuine martial arts films, only to discover it's a straightforward urban crime drama with shootouts and car chases, but zero karate, kung fu, or any hand-to-hand combat choreography. The film features standard 1970s action sequences involving guns and fistfights, but nothing remotely resembling the martial arts genre. Several online reviews from purchasers of these DVD sets specifically mention their surprise at finding The Black Godfather included, with one reviewer noting it was totally out of place in a martial arts 50 film pack, but conceding it was actually more entertaining than many of the legitimate martial arts films in the collection. This misclassification likely occurred because budget distributors assembling these megapacks grabbed titles from available catalogs without careful genre verification, possibly grouping all 1970s action films together regardless of their actual content. The inclusion also might have resulted from the film's title suggesting exotic or foreign elements that careless catalogers associated with martial arts movies. Whatever the reason, The Black Godfather's appearance in martial arts collections has become a recurring joke among exploitation film enthusiasts and created an unexpected second life for the movie among audiences who otherwise would never have encountered this obscure blaxploitation title. Fact 8. Visible microphone, boom gaff. At exactly the 20-minute mark of The Black Godfather, careful viewers can spot a glaring production error that somehow made it into the final cut. A boom microphone becomes clearly visible at the top of the frame, dipping into the shot during a dialogue scene. This type of mistake was relatively common in low-budget films of the 1970s, when production crews worked quickly with limited resources and the luxury of multiple takes wasn't always affordable. Unlike big studio productions where editors would carefully check every frame for technical errors, exploitation films like The Black Godfather were often assembled hastily to meet theatrical release dates and maximize profits while the genre remained hot. What makes this particular gaffe notable is its later cultural significance. When director Scott Sanders created Black Dynamite in 2009, a deliberately over-the-top parody of 1970s blaxploitation films, he intentionally included visible boom microphones and other production errors as part of the comedic homage. These deliberate mistakes in Black Dynamite weren't random choices, but specific callbacks to genuine errors that appeared in the films being parodied, with the Black Godfather's visible microphone serving as one documented example that inspired the parody's approach. Film scholars studying the blaxploitation genre have used such production errors as evidence of how these movies were made quickly and cheaply, prioritizing speed and marketability over technical polish. The visible equipment doesn't necessarily diminish the film's entertainment value or historical importance, but it serves as a reminder of the industrial conditions under which these movies were produced. Modern viewers encountering The Black Godfather often find these authentic production mistakes charming rather than distracting, viewing them as part of the film's vintage appeal and connection to a specific moment in independent filmmaking history. Fact 9. Beyond the Valley Connection. Duncan MacLeod, who portrayed the corrupt Lieutenant Joe Sterling in The Black Godfather, brought an interesting pedigree to the role from his previous work in cult cinema. 4 years earlier, MacLeod had appeared in Russ Meyer's notorious 1970 film Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, playing the sleazy lawyer Porter Hall in that psychedelic exploitation musical. Meyer's film, scripted by film critic Roger Ebert, has since become a beloved cult classic known for its outrageous excess, surreal plotting, and satirical edge. MacLeod's performance as the unethical attorney in that film demonstrated his ability to embody morally compromised authority figures, a skill he would bring to his portrayal of the dirty cop in The Black Godfather. The connection between these two films highlights how actors in the exploitation cinema circuit often moved between different subgenres and directors, building careers in the margins of mainstream Hollywood. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls received an X rating and generated significant controversy upon release, though it was later reevaluated as a campy masterpiece of excess. By comparison, The Black Godfather was far more straightforward in its storytelling and moral framework, even if both films existed in the exploitation marketplace. MacLeod's presence in both movies serves as a thread connecting the psychedelic weirdness of Meyer's vision with the gritty urban realism of blaxploitation cinema. His corrupt police lieutenant in The Black Godfather plays a crucial role in the plot, serving as the go-between who carries information between the black and white criminal organizations while taking bribes from both sides. The character embodies systemic corruption and represents how institutional power enables drug trafficking in urban communities, themes central to many blaxploitation narratives of the era. Fact 10. The character versus actor namesake. The confusion created by having both an actor named Tony Burton and a character named Tony Burton in the same film deserves special recognition as one of cinema's strangest coincidences. This wasn't a case of an actor playing himself or a deliberate artistic choice. Rather, it appears nobody involved in production recognized or cared about the potential confusion. Actor Tony Burton, in his film debut, played Sonny, a henchman working for the criminal organization. Separately, Don Chastain played the primary antagonist, a white mobster pushing heroin into the black community, whose character was named Tony Burton. Throughout the film, characters discuss their conflict with Tony Burton, the drug dealer, while actor Tony Burton appears in entirely different scenes as the henchman Sonny. This creates especially confusing moments when criminal associates sit around discussing what they should do about Tony Burton moving drugs into their territory, immediately followed by cuts to scenes featuring the real Tony Burton as Sonny carrying out orders. The overlap extends to the film's credits, where both Tony Burtons are listed, requiring viewers to mentally separate Tony Burton as Sonny from Don Chastain as Tony Burton. Professional screenwriters and script supervisors typically catch such potential confusion during development, as Hollywood convention strongly discourages situations where character names match cast member names unless intentionally breaking the fourth wall. The fact that this made it through pre-production, filming, and editing without anyone requesting a simple character name change suggests either remarkable oversight or simply that the low-budget production moved too quickly to worry about such details. For film scholars and fans discussing the movie decades later, this quirk requires constant clarification about which Tony Burton is being referenced in any given conversation. Fact 11. Cash-in title strategy. The Black Godfather's title represents pure exploitation marketing at its most transparent. Released in 1974, the film arrived exactly 2 years after Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather had become a cultural phenomenon, winning the Academy Award for Best Picture and establishing itself as one of cinema's greatest achievements. The producers of The Black Godfather clearly hoped to capitalize on that success by appropriating the recognizable title, banking on audiences making an association between the two films despite having absolutely nothing in common beyond organized crime themes. The Godfather explored Italian-American family dynamics, loyalty, and the corruption of the American dream through meticulous storytelling and masterful filmmaking. The Black Godfather was a low-budget exploitation film about urban crime and drug conflicts made quickly and cheaply to fill theaters catering to black audiences. This kind of opportunistic titling was standard practice in the exploitation film industry of the 1970s, where producers routinely created sound-alike titles hoping to trick casual moviegoers or simply benefit from name recognition. The strategy extended beyond just the title. Some promotional materials and posters used similar visual styling and fonts that echoed the original film's marketing. However, anyone who actually watched The Black Godfather expecting anything resembling Coppola's epic would have been immediately disappointed or confused. The film makes no attempt to mimic the structure, style, or themes of its namesake beyond having a character referred to as a Godfather figure. Despite the cynical marketing strategy, The Black Godfather has found its own identity among blaxploitation enthusiasts who appreciate it on its own terms, rather than as any kind of tribute or connection to the Coppola masterpiece. Fact 12. Modest box office performance. Despite its provocative title and exploitation marketing designed to draw audiences, The Black Godfather performed disappointingly at the box office. The film grossed only $491,900 in the United States and Canada during its theatrical run, making it a minor financial player even within the relatively low-budget world of blaxploitation cinema. For context, other blaxploitation films from the same era performed significantly better. Shaft, from 1971, earned over $12 million, while Superfly, from 1972, brought in $11 million against tiny budgets. Even accounting for The Black Godfather's presumably lower production costs, its box office returns suggest the film failed to connect with audiences in a meaningful way. Several factors likely contributed to this underwhelming performance. The film received limited theatrical distribution through Cinemation Industries, a company specializing in exploitation releases that couldn't match the marketing reach of major studios. Additionally, by 1974, the blaxploitation genre had already become crowded with competing titles, making it harder for individual films to stand out unless they featured major stars or offered something particularly unique. The Black Godfather's cast lacked recognizable names beyond blues singer Jimmy Witherspoon, who wasn't a box office draw for movie audiences despite his music fame. Critical reception was also mixed to negative, with reviewers noting the film's slow pace, excessive dialogue, and lackluster action sequences compared to more successful entries in the genre. The modest financial returns meant the film quickly disappeared from theaters and remained largely forgotten for decades until revival interest in blaxploitation cinema brought it back into circulation through home video and streaming services, where it found a new audience appreciating it as a time capsule of 1970s exploitation filmmaking. Fact 13. Anti-drug criminal heroes. The Black Godfather presents an unusual moral framework that sets it apart from typical crime films. The African-American criminal organization at the center of the story operates a classic criminal enterprise involving robbery, murder, gambling, and prostitution. But they draw a firm ethical line against drug trafficking, particularly heroin. This creates the strange situation of moral criminals who see themselves as protectors of their community despite profiting from various illegal activities. The protagonist, JJ, and his mentor, Nate Williams, believe that while traditional vice crimes may exploit human weaknesses, narcotics represent something far more destructive that enslaves people and destroys communities from within. This philosophical stance drives the entire plot, as the criminal organization goes to war against white mobsters attempting to push heroin into their predominantly black neighborhood. The film portrays this conflict not as competition between rival criminal enterprises, but as a genuine crusade to protect community members, especially young people, from addiction. The characters see themselves as necessary evils who control crime in ways that minimize harm, contrasting themselves with outsiders who would introduce drugs without regard for consequences. This moral positioning was common in blaxploitation films of the era, which often portrayed black criminals as complex figures responding to systemic racism and limited opportunities, sometimes positioning them as folk heroes fighting against white power structures. The anti-drug stance also reflects real concerns in black communities during the 1970s about heroin epidemics and theories about drugs being deliberately introduced to black neighborhoods as a form of social control. By making their criminal protagonists anti-drug crusaders, the filmmakers attempted to create sympathetic characters audiences could root for despite their obviously illegal activities. Fact 14. One-man crew behind camera. John Evans held an unusual concentration of creative control over The Black Godfather, serving simultaneously as the film's writer, director, and producer. This triple role meant Evans essentially functioned as the sole creative authority, making all major decisions about the project from script development through final editing. In low-budget independent filmmaking, this arrangement offered both advantages and challenges. Having one person handle multiple roles eliminated potential conflicts between different visions for the project and allowed for faster decision-making without committee discussions or studio interference. Evans could write scenes knowing exactly how he intended to direct them and could make production choices based on budget realities he understood intimately as the producer. However, this concentration of power also meant fewer checks and balances on creative decisions, potentially explaining some of the film's narrative shortcuts and production issues that multiple collaborators might have caught and addressed. Evans's previous work included other exploitation films like Speeding Up Time and Blackjack, establishing him as a reliable creator of low-budget genre content. His approach to The Black Godfather emphasized dialogue and character interaction over expensive action sequences, likely a practical decision based on budget limitations, but also reflecting his preference for exploring the moral complexities of his criminal characters. The film's relatively static visual style and heavy reliance on dialogue scenes bears the marks of Evans's theatrical background and budget-conscious approach. Despite wearing 3 hats, Evans managed to complete the film on schedule and deliver a finished product that found distribution, even if it didn't achieve commercial success. His career continued in exploitation and independent filmmaking, working primarily in genres that allowed for maximum creative freedom with minimal financial resources. Fact 15. Los Angeles as Harlem stand-in. The Black Godfather's story takes place in Harlem, New York, specifically focusing on African-American criminal enterprises in that iconic neighborhood. However, every single frame of the movie was actually filmed in Los Angeles, California, with Southern California locations standing in for the streets of Harlem throughout production. This geographic substitution was common practice in low-budget filmmaking of the 1970s, when shooting on location in New York City involved significantly higher costs for permits, union crew requirements, and logistical challenges. Los Angeles offered year-round filming weather, established film infrastructure, and lower production costs, making it the practical choice for independent filmmakers working with limited budgets. The production company Cugnar Productions operated out of California, giving them easy access to Los Angeles locations, crew members, and equipment rental houses. Sharp-eyed viewers familiar with both cities might notice architectural details, vegetation, and urban landscapes that don't quite match authentic Harlem geography, though the film does little to establish specific New York landmarks that would make the substitution obvious. The interiors were likely shot on Los Angeles sound stages, while exteriors used generic urban streets that could plausibly represent any American city. This kind of location substitution rarely bothered target audiences of blaxploitation films who were more interested in the stories and characters than geographic authenticity. The practice of using Los Angeles to double for other cities has remained common in filmmaking for decades, with the city's diverse neighborhoods and architectural variety allowing it to convincingly portray everywhere from New York to Chicago, to foreign countries, all while keeping productions close to Hollywood's infrastructure and talent pool.